According to the DPRK delegation, it was definitely a breakdown. The chief negotiator, Kim Yong-gil, spoke to the press outside the DPRK embassy after Saturday's working level talks, the first talks since the Hanoi summit between Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump ended with a no deal back in February, and he said essentially the US position hadn't changed. He hinted that the DPRK had again asked for some reciprocal measures for steps it had already taken, including the scrapping of the Punggye-ri nuclear test site, as well as its suspension of all nuclear and long-range missile tests. But he said the fundamental problem just came down to essentially a lack of flexibility on the US side. We can listen to a little of what Kim Yong-gil had to say after those working level talks.
The U.S. raised expectations by offering suggestions like a flexible approach, new method, creative solutions, but they have disappointed us greatly and dampened our enthusiasm for negotiation by bringing nothing to the negotiation table.
But a very contradictory statement coming out from the State Department spokesman, saying that in their point of view, there had been good and creative discussions lasting 8.5 hours, and that the US had decided to accept an offer by Sweden's foreign ministry to engage in more talks in 2 weeks' time. Whereas from the DPRK delegation, we heard that the door would be open for the rest of the year, but there didn't seem to be a lot of optimism that there would be more engagement. So we're going to have to wait and see. A timetable has been put down there. Apparently Sweden willing to host those talks again in 2 weeks, but we'll have to see if the DPRK delegation turns up to those discussions. Due to the time difference, that was sort of in the middle of the night when those talks happened, and it is early Sunday morning here, but no doubt we will get some reaction from the South Korean government, and of course it will be one of disappointment because South Korea very keen to get engaged quickly. Now, they give President Moon Jae-in really stays on the same page as Donald Trump when it comes to the issue of major sanctions relief at the end of denuclearization. But President Moon has also been very keen to offer up something for those steps that the DPRK has already taken, and he wants to do it in the form of inter-Korean economic cooperation, reopening the industrial zone just north of the demilitarized zone, restarting tours into the DPRK at Mount Kumgang, and of course the big road and rail multi-billion-dollar infrastructure upgrade. South Korea stands ready to implement all of that. It just needs a green light from Washington, but from what we're hearing from those talks, the US position is still there won't be any sort of sanctions relief until there are really substantial steps taken to dismantle the current stockpile, or at least give an inventory on those weapons.